So be the change you want to see. Focus on things you can change and go be the change you want to see and wrap your identity up in who you are, not what you are. And I think you'll live a better life with overall.
I love that insight. Thank you for sharing it with the world.
I'm happy to be here. Is it over already? Are we done? I keep
Is there anything else you wanted to share? This is the mindful hustle, where manifestation isn't wishful thinking, it's a strategic realignment with the version of you that already has what you want. I'm Donnie, and I help high-level creators shift their identity so success becomes inevitable. Research shows that the average person has 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of them are the same as yesterday. If you want a different outcome, you've got to become a different thinker. At Reality Realization Institute, we bridge neuroscience and spiritual law to help you rewire those patterns for real. You can start with a free strategy session at realityrealization.org/call. Now, let's get present and move in with today's guest. Today, we have Matt Potratz, who was at the peak of his professional snowmobile career when everything changed in an instant. An avalanche threw him off a mountain, crushed his body, and left him in a coma, fighting for his life. But what followed wasn't just a recovery, it was a radical transformation. In today's episode, we unpack Matt's incredible comeback story and the powerful mindset shifts, insights, and life lessons that emerge on the journey back from the edge. This is a story of resilience, rebirth, and discovering purpose through pain. So, thank you again to Matt for hopping on today's podcast. Just to get us started, can you tell us a little bit more about that story? It sounds very intense.
Yeah, so I was at a point in time in my life when I've been invited to have the honor of riding at a professional level on snowmobiles. I rode snowmobiles through high school and college and a lot of my early years, and I loved the sport and fell in love with it. And didn't ever plan on becoming the pro status, but my ability led to that, and that took off like crazy and ended up riding in 7 different snowmobile motion pictures. I've ridden with some of the best guys in the world, and I've ridden all over the Western U.S. and Canada and some huge mountains. It was an incredible experience, but I was filming for a whole climb segment in March 2009 and set off a big avalanche. And the avalanche crushed me, sent me off a bluff and crushed me a tree and buried me and broke my neck and femur and ribs and collapsed lung and brain damage. It just crushed my body, put me in a state of coma. I was in a coma for 41 days. I was
Wow.
hospitalized for 88 straight days and a long recovery process that was years of therapy and recovery. And it's been about, I guess this will be 16 years now. And I'm just lucky to be alive, man. Lucky to be living again. And we talk about mindset. I mean, everything in a successful recovery of that magnitude revolves around mindset.
I'm curious to hear more about that. So, you went through this harrowing experience, and I imagine that during that recovery process, with the therapy, with everything that you had to go through, it was really about rebuilding an identity of who you saw yourself as, because you knew that from this experience that you'd probably have to shift a little bit of what really was like your purpose in life at the time. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? What did that journey look like? What type of mindset things really stuck with you, and what did that really end up leading you to?
I think that any human who goes through something that severe, that big of a magnitude, you're forced to come up against like an identity crisis, right? Where you realize that the world has taught you, the world we live in has taught you to build your identity around what you are, about what car you drive and what job you work and what status on a snowmobile is and what accolades you've been given and just the list can go on, right? But that's all what you are. That's not who you are. And suddenly you realize that when all the what gets stripped away, and if none of the what was gone from me, I was laying in a comatose state, unable to do anything but barely breathe. And so I discovered that the who still exists when the what goes out the window. Because who, Matt Potratz is still there. The person's still there. I can't ride snowmobiles at the professional level anymore. My left arm's totally paralyzed. I can't run. I can't move. I can't shake like I once did as an athlete. But who I am is still here. I'm still the same Matt Potratz. In fact, I'm probably a better version of myself now than I was before because I discovered who I am, not worrying about what I am because the what leaves no hope because there's nothing left.
So, who is that version of you now? What did you end up becoming and realizing about yourself?
Two working arms or being able to be athletic.
Mhm.
Nothing to do with that whatsoever. So I could still give, in fact, I probably give more now to the world. In fact, I know I do. Give way more now to the world than I used to when I had my full body and full athletic body and shape. And now left arm's dead from the shoulder down. Like the whole side of my body's dead on the upper side. And so, but that doesn't even matter. I can't worry about that. I can't stress about that because I can't change it. But I've got to realize that there's still a lot of Matt Potratz left because the who still exists, even
Hmm.
though the what got thrown out the window.
So, what would you say then is that experience that you're able to give to the world now? What value is it that you try to put into the world now?
You know, one of the biggest things I talk about a lot is just adversity. The fact that every human being that lives on planet Earth is going to face adversity because adversity in the dictionary is defined as distress, affliction, hardship, an unfortunate event or incident. Based upon that definition, no one can really argue the fact that everybody's going to face some form of distress, affliction, hardship, an unfortunate event or incident. So everybody is going to face adversity on some scale, and even on a daily basis or at least a weekly basis. Our response to that adversity on a daily basis is going to drastically affect the outcome of our problems and therefore the course of our life. And so that if there's any one thing I can share is that it's just that everybody goes through problems. Everybody has bad days. Everybody has struggles. Everybody has hardships. But don't single yourself out and think you're the victim. Become a victor and overcome that problem and get better, not bitter, and watch it change you. And so that's what my message is life is going to happen, but it can either happen to us or it can happen for us. And that's a mindset. Are you going to let life happen to you or are you going to make life happen for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a key shift that really allows you to take power back for yourself, not to be at the whims of the world in a sense, but to be the
Yeah.
operator. So I'm curious, from the perspective that you gained and from the work that you had to do for yourself, how would people be able to make that shift into basically seeing life happening for them?
I would say a big part of it is going to have to be focus on things you can change
Hmm.
because I can't change what happened to me. I can't change the Avalanche, right? I can't change how bad it hurt me. I can't change the fact that I'm banged up still and I'm not able to be what I once was. I can't change those things. So I can't afford to waste time, energy, passion, emotion worrying about, stressing about, talking about things I cannot change. So if you're gonna have that mindset shift, you've got to say, all right, what can I change? Because I can't, every human being's got a limited amount of time, right? Everyone's got the same 24 hours. If there's any one commonality we all have, it's time. Everybody's got 14 hours or 15 hours of wake time every day. And when we're awake, we have a choice. Am I going to apply those hours and make them happen for me? Or I'm going to sit back and hope for the best and let it happen to me?
That's a key insight. Something I was curious of was through this journey, through this developmental experience that you had to go through, when you think about the difference between where you were then and where you were now, what do you feel are some of the aspects of yourself that maybe were suppressed due to the way you're experiencing life in the past that have now started to shine in your own life?
I realized at that point in time earlier in my life because I was so successful at a young age and I was had accolades and I made lots of money and I had stuff and I had position and possessions and everything else, right? And so I think that I didn't realize I lost the value of humility. The fact that humility is a much stronger attribute than arrogance or pride or the opposite, right? When you're humble, when you've been humiliated to some degree, right? But you've been humbled by a big event like that, to where you realize you're not Mr. Superstar and you're not above the world and you're not beyond the world and you're not above anybody. And all of a sudden you get down to where you just realize that it's kind of like John Maxwell, I think, echoed C.S. Lewis when he said, true humility doesn't require thinking less of yourself. It just means you think of yourself less.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I thought that if I was a humble guy, I would have to think less of myself and think I was kind of a little less than best, right? And really, that's not true at all. You can still be your best self, the best version of yourself, and think of yourself less, and you're humble.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you think of yourself more that pride sets in.
Yeah, definitely. Back when I ran the first business with my mom, we had reached a level of success. And then when it came crashing down, I realized I wasn't really all on top of the world as I thought I was. And it made me
Yeah.
reflect on who I am, who I was trying to appear as in the world, and really look at myself deeper and try to understand, is this person that I become the version of me that really can experience and make the most of the life I'm living? And that kind of humility that I gained from that experience led me into the path of pursuit of curiosity and to learn and to try to grow and fill up the gaps within myself. So I can definitely see the value in that.
Yeah, I think you will agree you chose better, not bitter, right? When you face any kind of adversity, you're going to make that choice every single time, either consciously or subconsciously. Am I going to choose better or am I going to get bitter? Because
Yeah.
if you just try to do nothing and don't get better, you'll drift towards bitter. You can't just camp out in the middle and hope for mediocrity. You've got to choose better on a daily basis. And I think you did that, sounds like. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Something I'm curious of is, what is it that you are creating right now? You mentioned that you are able to get more value in the world. What is that manifested as in like the tangible?
I never would have had a career plan to write a book, to become an author, right? That
Mm.
wasn't part of my career plan. I wasn't planning on becoming a motivational speaker. And although I was good at speaking, I was good with people and things like that because I was working in sales and business at that time for my real job. But I never thought life would lead me to the point that I would do it for a living. But now, after writing my first book and continuing to write my second, third book now, that I realize that this journey is far more rewarding than any journey I was on before. I probably don't make as much money as I used to make, but I could care less. I make enough, and I get to impact lives and change the world one person at a time. And when I step on a high school stage to speak to a high school audience and see them passing tissue and crying because they're being touched by the story and message, I mean, I'm on a high. And so
Yeah,
that's my new mission in life is to change the world one person at a time. And whether it's from a stage with an audience full of a room full of 5,000 people or one-on-one with a kid over coffee or just somebody reading my book, I just want to change the world one person, one life, one heart, one soul at a time.
yeah. I love that. That's an amazing vision for the life you get to live now. Amazing. Well, this has been such a powerful conversation. Thank you for sharing so openly about your story and about the value that it allows you to gain in life to impact others and impact the world to become a better, more whole society. Something I like to do at the end of these episodes is to ask, if you had to give one insight to those trying to pursue a life of meaning, purpose, value, and try to basically reach a new level in who they can be, the version of self that they are, what would you tell those out there seeking this experience?
Yeah, I think honestly the best piece of advice I could give is part of what I've already said was focus on things you can change, but the second part of that is be the change you want to see.
Hmm.
So don't waste your time on things you cannot change because if you can't change it, you can't afford to waste energy on it. And then when you find something you can change and you have a vision for it and you have a plan for it, go be that change because nobody's going to change for you. Nobody can change you anyway. Only you can change you. And so if you're waiting for somebody else to change you, or even if you're waiting for God to change you, he probably won't change you until you participate. And
Hmm.
so be the change you want to see. Focus on things you can change and go be the change you want to see and wrap your identity up in who you are, not what you are. And I think you'll live a better life overall.
I love that insight. Thank you for sharing it with the world.
I'm happy to be here.
Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I mean, if you want to keep conversing, we can, but otherwise, just want to encourage people that you've got value. I don't care. N Nobody has equal value, right? I don't believe
Mhm.
in equality, but we actually shouldn't say that. Nobody has equality, like exact value, but everybody has equal value. Nobody has exactly the same value, but everybody has equal value because you can do things I can't do. I can do things you can't do. And you've got things to offer the world I can't offer, and I've got things to offer the world you can't offer. And therefore, we both have equal amounts of value. And so let's just know that don't compare yourself to those around you. Compare yourself to you. Be the best version of yourself because that's all anybody in the world can ever expect of you is be the very best version of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. As you come into this life with yourself and you leave just with yourself. So what really
Yeah,
matters is who you are with just you at the end of the day.
exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you again for hopping on, sharing your insight. And for those of you listening, if this episode stirred something in you, if you feel like you're ready to grow from the inside out and create the kind of life and business that reflects your highest self, feel free to book a discovery call at realityrealization.org/call. Now, before we wrap, Matt, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about what you're doing right now?
Well, I'm on all those social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those, but one of the fastest ways to get to all that stuff is just go to my website. It's just simple. Just go to mattmotivates.com. Links to my website. It's got the video of the Avalanche on there. It's got video of me riding to the pro level when I rode. It's got video of me speaking on there. And if you want to bring me to your high school or sports camp or business conference or safety meeting or church even, I would love to be part of that and to get involved in your life by coming and sharing with your audience, your organization. And just mostly I just like to connect with people. I like to make more friendships, relationships. So jump on the website, mattmotivates.com, and check it out. Hopefully we'll hear from you soon.
All right, perfect. Thanks again, Matt, for sharing such real and thoughtful perspectives, letting us into your journey, your story, and the changes that were made through what you went through. And to all of you tuning in, remember, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you want to change your results, start by becoming the version of you who already has them. This is the Mindful Hustle. Until next time, be bold, be intentional, and keep realizing your reality.